It's my pleasure to introduce our our presenter tonight is Anne Zuber, who's director of Wenonah Free Public Library. And we will, now that our business meeting is concluded, we will turn it over to Anne for her presentation on the history of this beloved building and institution. Thank you.
Charlie, a couple words in there before we get started.
Sure.
I was planning to introduce Anne, and I have just a couple background bits of information that I think might be interesting. Turns out that Anne grew up in West Deptford, so right nearby. She later went on to attend Glassboro State College, which we now know as Rowan. During her college days, she came back to Wenonah to work as a letter carrier for the U.S. Postal Service right here in town. And she worked delivering mail as well as working as a clerk for the time that she was a student at Glassboro State. Later, she came back to Wenonah again to work as librarian at the Wenonah Elementary School. And while she was there, she automated that library. And around the year 2000, the Wenonah Free Public Library was in need of a head librarian, and Anne was hired in that capacity. And one of her first tasks was to automate the Free Public Library. So she got to work on that and has been busy with that and heading up the library for the past 22 years. And I have to add just one other thing that just came to my attention, that February is National Library Lovers Month. And I wish I could tell you that I knew that months ago, and I purposely planned this presentation because of that. I just found out National Library Lovers. I hope that we're all library lovers and we'll visit Anne at the library. So now, Anne, if you will go on with your talk.
Thank you, Jenny. You just reminded me that a few years ago, we were looking for something made-up holiday like Library Lovers Month, and decided that we would have an event here at the library to draw the school children in. And February 4th of that year was Take Your Child to the Library Day. And I did a contest at the elementary school. If you borrowed 2 books a week for the entire month of January, you got to put your name in a drawing, and we gave away a Kindle Fire.
Wow.
It's part of my presentation, but you just reminded me of it. So I guess February has quite a bit of library things that can happen in it. I want to say thank you for this opportunity to review the history of the library. After I was asked to update the little write-up done 20 years ago, I decided to try to preserve the records we have by compiling a document summarizing the records we had stored in the library. And that would then create a digital record of sorts. We had quite a bit of paper records. I'll give you a little preview of that, if I can. Let's see if I can. Sorry about this, still learning. Okay, that is the first minute books and register of borrowers that Wenonah Library had in the year 1900. There are handwritten notebooks of the early meeting minutes, pages written on line paper, typed pages on onion skin paper, and Word documents. We're talking about 121 years worth of notes taken by many people. The Library Association was formally organized and chartered in 1900. The funding for the first collection of books came from the Cirrhosis Club. There's a transcription of the first minutes on February 15th, 1900. The Cirrhosis Club, I guess, was what the Women's Club was called. And they raised $150 for the purpose of the library, plus initial investments by members of the association. The members of the original board were Edward L. Farr, Thomas W. Sinnott, Dr. H. Lake Gilmore, Dr. Harry Stout, Reverend Raymond H. Gage, and Mr. Charles M. Wilkins. Meetings were held at the homes of the committee members until a room was rented at Mrs. Lashley's boarding house on Mantua Avenue in June of 1900. The committee hired Emma Lichty, our first librarian, and drew up a constitution which stated members could have a lifetime library privilege for $50 or join annually for $5. Today, there's no charge for a library membership. In 1902, the association hired Morty Stokes, who saw the library through many changes over her 42-year career. By 1905, more space was needed, and the former Presbyterian Sunday School Annex was received as a donation. This was the rear portion of the original Presbyterian Church on North Clinton Avenue. This is an article that was in the Historical Society newsletter. The majority of the building, built in 1873, has been used as a private home since the opening in 1904 of the Memorial Presbyterian Church on the corner of East Mantua and South Princeton Avenues. The board approved the purchase of a lot on the south side of Mantua Avenue behind the livery stable for $200. The chapel was moved to the acquired lot, which is 8 West Mantua Avenue, at a cost of $250. This building was used as the library from 1905 until the current library building was put into service in 1927. Referred to as the old library, it had modifications made over the years. Minutes from April 1914 recorded a vote to have a basement added to the library building at a cost of $162 and to install a furnace at the cost of $48. A special election was held in May 1914 to form the Free Public Library of Wenonah, a public entity to be supported in part by the borough of Wenonah's taxes. Minutes of the July 1919 meeting suggest the installation of a wash basin in the library. Ms. Stokes later noted what a great help it is to have a basin in the building. Very helpful with cleaning and book repair. The minutes from March 1920 recorded a vote to approve librarians' pay rate to $10 a month and the janitor's pay rate to $3 a month during heating season and $2 per month when no fire is needed. A report submitted to Borough Council in 1921 claimed 600 card-holding members. The census in 1920 reported the total population of Wenonah was 918 people. During the 1920s, the Board of Trustees acquired the property at the northeast corner of Clinton and Mantua Avenues. Let's see what I have. I attempted to trace the history of the property through the deeds found in the files at the library. We have deeds showing title transfer from 1882 to 1926. It seems the property was deeded from the original investors of the town, Edward Farr, Thomas Sinnott, and Samuel Whitney, to Blaine and D. Amelia Smith in 1896, transferred to Charles Lorenz in 1903, to Richard Ballinger in 1908, to Anna E. Bilderback in 1922. Records show a few mortgages were taken against the property over the years. Apparently, those with money invested it in real estate. Nora Taylor told me about a wonderful research tool called Genealogy Bank. There, this just happens. Sorry. It was so helpful in my research for information about the library and some of the people associated with the library. Charles M. Bilderback, an efficiency clerk for the borough of Wenonah in 1896, was listed as the recording secretary for a newly formed Republican organization in an article September 19th, 1900 in the Woodbury Daily Times. The 1900 census listed Mr. Bilderback's employment as a real estate agent. Then the 1910 census said he was a clerk for the New Jersey Board of Insurance. And in 1920, he was identified as a bank examiner. He passed away on June 21st, 1926. It seems that some members of the Bilderback family lived in Wenonah for quite a long time. Mrs. Anna Bilderback was raised here. Her parents, Mary and Samuel Packer, were found in the 1870 census records. They lived in more than one house in Wenonah. An article in the Times described a house fire in a double dwelling on West Jersey Avenue that displaced the family from June 3rd to August 20th in 1901. Mrs. Bilderback was mentioned in a number of articles in the Times as attending various social and fundraising events along with the other women of notable families in town. Their daughter, Mary, was identified as a talented musician and an instructor at the school. Although I spent some time researching those that lived at the spot, the most important to developing were the Farr family. These are minutes from the November 24th, 1924 meeting. Includes a wonderful tribute to Mr. Farr. The trustees of the Wenonah Free Public Library of Wenonah, New Jersey, wish to place on record their very deep sense of loss sustained by the library and by the community in the death of Mr. Edward L. Farr, who has been, from the beginning of the existence of the library, its president and its animating spirit. To him, more than any other person or persons, the borough of Wenonah is indebted for the founding of the library, for it was not only by his generous gifts of money, but also by his cordial and earnest gift of his time and thought that the institution was conceived and brought into being. Through its history, he has given to it his generous support and his wise counsel, and has been largely the inspiration of its progress, from its small beginnings to its present position of helpful influence in the community. The Board of Trustees and the community at large have lost a most valuable member in his death on August 31st last, and hereby enter on record their sense of lasting obligation to his public-spirited service, as well as their feeling of personal sorrow at his loss. The board therefore directs that this minute be entered on the minutes of the trustees, and that a copy be signed by the president and the secretary and transmitted to Mrs. Farr. And it was signed by Mr. Gage and Mr. Hobson. Shortly thereafter, Mrs. Farr assumed her seat as president. Here's Edward. As president of the library board. Discussions regarding the need to expand the library space and services took place at the board's quarterly meetings. Minutes from December 28, 1926, recorded the property purchased from Anne E. Bilderback at $8,500. Much correspondence between interested parties, the title office, the tax assessor's office, and lawyers representing each party, as well as Richard Erskine representing the library board. On January 10, 1927, a resolution was put forth by Mrs. Farr to allow Mrs. Bilderback to continue residing in the property while plans were being developed for the new library building. There was a file full of correspondence. The correspondence debated the tax assessment to the property for improvements that were made to Mantua Avenue during the time between the agreement of sale and the recording of the deed. Not sure who ended up footing the bill for $170.68, but Richard Erskine argued the point that since the tax assessor, Mr. Schuster, failed to report this amount at closing, that he should be responsible for it. The land was purchased and a contract made with Nielsen and Carlson Company to build the current library, and to do with the existing building as they chose. There's some confusion as to whether the contractor moved the beautiful house from the corner of East Mantua and North Clinton, or if it was demolished. There is a postcard that was actually published in one of the Historical Society newsletters of an aerial view of the Wenonah Military Academy and the surrounding area. It shows a domed turret of a large Victorian house through the trees. It's astounding that it would have been knocked down, but that could be what happened. The funds to build the library were donated by the Farr family in 1927. Titles were transferred through a Farr estate to the Wenonah Public Library Association, and then in 1929 to the borough of Wenonah. An accounting of the cost of the building is seen in the meeting minutes from October 1929, $26,753.82 to the contractor, with a total cost of $34,733.70. A bargain. By 1930, it was decided to sell the old library at the location of 8 West Mantua Avenue. Ownership had been transferred from the Library Association to the borough of Wenonah, and this made it necessary to put the property up for public auction. The winning bid of $1,500 was placed by the Lutheran Evangelical Ministerium of Pennsylvania. Payment less legal and advertising fees was then given to the library board. Library funding has undergone a number of changes. There's a lengthy volume of library law that can be found on the New Jersey State Library webpage. The funding formula for tax dollars to be appropriated to the running of the municipal library were established in 1944, amended in 1985, 2007, and 2011. This is a quote from the library law. Within every municipality governed by this article, there shall annually be raised by taxation a sum equal to 1/3 of a mill on every dollar of assessable property within such municipality, based on the equalized valuation of such property as certified by the Director of the Division of Taxation. That means when property values go up, the library funding goes up. When property values go down, the funding goes down, in spite of any change in the tax rate made by the borough to support all fiscal needs and services. In 2007, revision was put in place to guard against library funding exceeding what is needed to support the library. When property values are inflated and taxes collected go beyond the needs of the permanent residents. For example, in a resort town or one with valuable rateable properties. Each year, we are required to fill out a lengthy report on library usage, services, and spending. There's a form to plug in our audited expenses and income to see if we must return excess funds to the borough. Donations and reserve funds are not included. The library has done many entertaining events over the years to raise funds and community outreach. The Women's Club of Wenonah has made great fundraising efforts for the betterment of the library. I read about them in the March 2003 Wenonah Historical Society newsletter article written by Pat Hart. And quoting, in May 1925, another major event held by the new club was a May Fair under the direction of Mrs. White and Mrs. Walter Farr. Mrs. Farr was a member who suggested that the library become the club's project. It was held on the greensward in front of the Farr estate, now owned by Vicki and Lou McCall. The Tudor style of architecture fitted with the period portrayed by the affair, the Elizabethan age. Quite a large sum of money, $600, was realized for the benefit of the Wenonah Public Library. A pageant of women in 14 episodes was held in the Military Academy Gymnasium on Saturday, October 20, 1928. Once again, the Wenonah Library was the beneficiary of the event. A production took place in the gardens at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Erskine at the corner of South Princeton Avenue and Cherry Street. In the 1980s, there was a plan to expand the library building. Funds were available through a community block grant if estimates for an addition could be gotten to fit the dollar range that the library could afford to match. The plan did not come to fruition. Reviewing the minutes gave me a peek into so many details that those running the library had to manage. Many of these challenges tend to repeat over the years. This September, we were revisited by a colony of honeybees that has apparently been interested in making the library their home for decades. The bee issue was first noted in the 1970s. I found 8 reports of bees and even honey on the walls in the library. I've noted swarms at least 3 times since I've been with the library and have formulated a plan with a certified beekeeper and our roofing company to open the roof in spring to see about solving this issue. Another recurring challenge has been water infiltration in the basement. There were at least a dozen mentions of the problem in board meeting minutes over the years. Issues were so persistent that the library board opted to undergo the grounds renovation project in 2012. We now have better gutters, a rain garden with a beautiful gathering space behind the library. Over the years, various boards of trustees worked to keep improving the library. Heat and air conditioning, a circulation desk, and custom bookcases have been added. Open hours were changed to better serve the needs of the citizens of Wenonah. In 1998, in conjunction with the automation project at Wenonah Elementary School, the library set up internet access for the public and planned to automate the collection. In 2000, the shelf list was digitized. In January 2001, volunteers helped apply barcode labeling necessary to begin using the computerized system in June 2001. In 2008, the Wenonah Library joined the login system, a consortium of municipal, county, and academic libraries sharing the library catalog, giving Wenonah residents access to materials from all libraries in Gloucester County. Each library maintains control of their own materials and policies. When the new library cards were issued to Wenonah patrons, the very first card number, coincidentally, was issued to Wenonah hometown hero Sue Jenkins. In 2012, the consortium expanded to include libraries in Cumberland and Salem counties. That same year, the board contracted to provide overdrive, audio, book, and ebook access to Wenonah library card holders. In 2018, we began providing access to Ancestry.com's Heritage Quest product for our patrons interested in researching public records for family history. During the last 2 years, while so many of us have had to rely more on technology, Wenonah Library began offering even more digital products. EBSCOhost, familiar to students as an excellent research tool, allows access to thousands of online periodicals, journals, and e-resource databases, and now includes numerous ebook, audiobook, and video resources. The Hoopla digital product is a great source for entertainment with ebooks, audiobooks, streaming video content, including movies, TV shows, as well as magazines and music. It even has a binge feature. The library building and grounds show tribute to prominent Wenonah citizens who value the library. Mr. and Mrs. Farr, Richard Erskine, and John Howard. The Story Walk project extended the reach of the library to the park. Families of library advocates show their support by memorializing them with donations to the library. Evidence of their generosity appears as tables, special collection areas, display cases, outdoor signage, a tree, a bench, and our comfy seating area. Over the years, the library has supported the community by hosting club meetings, proctoring college exams, delivering materials to homebound patrons, providing space for tutoring, and offering volunteer opportunities for Eagle Scout, Girl Scout Silver Award, Bar Mitzvah, and confirmation candidates. Programs include Toys for Tots, Book Smiles Book Drive, clothing drives, and most recently, the Volunteer and Donation Hub for victim relief following Hurricane Ida tornado event. We are a small library, but we're big on service. Thank you. Does anyone have questions?
And I have a question. Just to make sure, you did not come across any photos of the Bilderbeck's house other than the aerial?
I did not.
Okay. Thank you.
Anne,
Yes.
this is Rick Mitchell. Do you know who the architect was for the current library?
Richard Erskine.
Okay.
The windowsills in the vestibule area on the east side, there is a dedication that the building was donated by the Farr family. And on the west side window, the ledge acknowledges Richard Erskine's contribution.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And can I ask you how many Wenonah citizens are library card holders now?
Well, we did a really big push to get people to, I did the whole school. One year I had every kid in the school apply for a library card number. So it's a big number. It's like 1,500, but they're not all active. And especially in the last 2 years, a lot, the cards expire after a year, and that gives us an opportunity to renew and double check information if there's, email addresses that need to be added or landlines that get deleted. Just, it gives us an opportunity once a year to update our information. So there are a lot of card numbers that are just kind of sitting there, hoping that people will come back.
Do you have many DVDs available?
We probably have about, I think we have about 400. We haven't really been pushing a lot of purchases for that because people are not borrowing them with the streaming products that people use. So even our Hoopla product that we fund and people can use for free with their library card number cuts into the use of our DVDs here. I do try to keep it up to date with purchases of maybe 3 or 4 a month as new things are released. But it's not being used the way it used to be used because of streaming products, I
What's your busiest day of the week? And is there a most popular type of genre for people in Wenonah to check out or to look at? I'm just curious.
Wednesday is our busiest day because we are open for 12 hours on Wednesday. And we offer children's story time on Wednesday afternoon. And so that brings people in. It's not as well attended as the outdoor program was last summer. We did do our children's summer program outdoors. It wasn't as big a turnout as it had been, 2 years prior, but I would say Wednesday afternoon is probably our busiest time. And I would say that the adult fiction is probably the largest circulation. And we have our faithful people that never stopped using us all through the pandemic. We offered curbside. And so I had staff, even when the library building was closed for those 4 months, I had staff coming in for 2 hours. We each took a day to fill those curbside. We had a table strapped to the bike rack with a Rubbermaid tub, and we packaged things up and people would come by and pick them up. And I have to say my staff are exceptional. We're all part-time, and we all do it for the love of the library. So a lot of circulation happened because staff was dropping things off to people's houses. And we can do things like that in a little place like this. Anything else?
Is Jenny, it looks like Jenny's trying to say something.
Jenny, you're muted.
Okay, now you hear me?
Yes.
I was asking, are there other services that are available that you haven't already mentioned so that folks who are not frequent users of the library might know about them and perhaps come and visit you?
Well, we're trying to get our programming back in action. We have a volunteer that has been very loyally offering technology help on Thursday evenings from 7 to 8. And we are trying to get our Forever's Friends dog program back up and running. And that was 2 Monday evenings, the first and third Monday of each month, that these volunteers bring. They're like comfort animals, but they're certified through this organization for the children to read to. It sounds a little bit funny when you say dog night. When I was working at the elementary school, I would make an announcement every Monday afternoon that was preceding dog night with a little poem to get the kids interested in coming. And often they would ask me to bring their dogs, but that's not what we're doing. We're offering that dogs could come, that the kids could come and read to the dogs. And every Monday that I made the announcement, it was different. The poem was different, and it was fly by the seat of my pants different. If it was cloudy out, I would include something about, it seems dark outside, but it's bright in the library, or some, silly thing like that. We did do programming on Tuesday evenings for a while. We had craft night, and I would really like to see that start up again. I think when people are comfortable coming to the library, and we may even offer it, earlier in the day on Tuesday, because sometimes people just don't want to come out at night. But we've always done evening things, because if people are working during the day, they can't, attend the things. We have a very talented knitter that works here at the library, Michelle. She's got a box filled with various patterns of hats and scarves that she just likes to practice with. And when she produces all these things, then she brings them here to give away. And, Wednesday's story time, Thursday's technology night. We really would like to see more programming happen. And I'm actually advertising for a person that might like to have that position here at the library, someone that would pick up some of our desk hours and act as a coordinator, a program coordinator for whatever we could come up with to do. There's a lot of good ideas.
So if I could just chime in, I'm kind of a new person here, and the reason why I joined this meeting was the love of this building. I stopped in the other day to pick up Marjorie's book. I got the oldest one. And the reason for this is my son and I are doing, we kind of are piloting a YouTube channel on different things in New Jersey. And he actually stumbled upon the trail that got annihilated by the tornado. So we have a border collie, and she's actually loved this trail. We've had her in the snow and everything. So we've kind of like, we've taken this and we've kind of expanded upon this. Long story short, about 30 years ago, my husband and I looked into Wenonah. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but we ended up in West Deptford. But there's always been a small, a heart tug, I guess, with Wenonah. But I went to the West Deptford Library for information on Wenonah, and of course they told me that they didn't have any, and they sent me to the Wenonah Library. And oh my gosh, I was so thrilled when I walked. I was just like, I didn't want to leave. It was like this fairy tale building. The building itself it just intrigued me so much, just how beautiful it was. and the fact that it has always been a library. So like books are a big heart tug to me, and also architecture. I have a design degree, so like this was just right up my alley. So I just when I was talking to the librarian that was there, she was like, "Oh my gosh, like they're having a talk about this actual building," and I'm like, "Yay!" So it was just super, but like it just really it really just spoke to me. The town itself of Wenonah has always spoken to me, and entering this building the other day was just it just kind of like a surreal experience. So I want to thank all of you guys for letting me crash this meeting. It's been really very intuitive. So thank you.
Did you have an opportunity to go downstairs when you came into the building?
No, I didn't. No.
Well,
I'll come back
next time. Yeah, we have a mural that goes down the staircase that was done by a local artist. It's a mosaic.
Okay, so I took the
And that
picture
was a project.
I took the picture of the outside of the building. Of course, like we got the videos of all that, but yes.
We did, it was a program that we did in summer for anybody that wanted to. It didn't have to be children. Some, adults joined in, and she taught us over a period of, I think it was 2 days a week for 3 weeks, how to do these mosaics. And then she installed it. And there's one over the children's section.
Okay.
That has, but she designed a picture incorporated in there of the library building. And then the staircase, you'll see, it's got seasons. It's beautiful.
All right, I'm making a note. Go downstairs. I have to return the book when I'm done with it. So I was going to buy the book, but I didn't have any cash on me. So I'm like, okay, do you have one here I can take out? So yeah. And also, but thank you for letting me crash. This has been really great. And I feel like even though I don't live in Wenonah, I feel like I come home every time I do enter into your town.
And we would be very happy for you to join the Historical Society. You don't have to live in Wenonah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
And then you could hear more of our programs.
Yay.
Okay, I guess we're finished. We want to thank you, Anne, for a wonderful presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very informative, and I'll get my pitch in because I'm a frequent flyer at the library. I hope that all of you will also take advantage of all the various services at the library. I happen to be one of those beneficiaries of the home service. Many years ago, I fell and fractured my ankle, and Anne came and brought books to me faithfully every week so that I could keep on reading while I was laid up. So thank you again. Thank you, Anne.
You're welcome.